Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar session. And I'm really excited about this topic because we're going to be talking about overcoming the biggest problem in your business, which is often you. As small businesses, we're all kind of 1 to 5 person teams, and even those bigger teams are still reliant on the founder being the key decision maker a lot of the times. And that's very empowering, but at the same time, it can also be a bottleneck as well, and both personally and for the organization. So for today's conversation, with us, we have Sari Kimbell, who is the founder of Food Business Success, and talking about her experience coaching founders through a lot of the problems that we all encounter and how to get through them. So a little quick rundown for today. Sarah's going to be talking about a quick kind of overview of the problems that founders experience. At the end, we're going to have some time for some one-on-one coaching as well. And so if anyone has a problem that you're dealing with or decision that you're dealing with, think about one now. We'd love to actually have you come up and Sarah can coach you live, and it'll be really fun and exciting. And then at the end, we'll also have time for some Q&A. So with that, I will pass it on over to Sari. Welcome.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I've been very excited about this, and this is such an important topic. So thanks for everybody joining me live. And if you're listening to the recording, welcome as well. So I'll just jump in if that's okay.
Let's do it.
To meet some of you guys in the chat. So, all right. All right. You guys see that all right?
Looks good.
Okay. All right. So we're talking today about how to accelerate your success. And I'm going to be talking about 7 mindset strategies to solve your biggest problem, which is you. I really believe that every problem we have in our business really comes down to us as the entrepreneurs and founders. So thanks for doing some quick intro for me. Let's just get that going. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sari Kimbell. I have over 15 years in the food industry, lots of different types of food restaurants and coffee shops and all that good stuff. Also worked for Whole Foods Market. I did try my hand at entrepreneurship for just a minute and realized it was not for me. I have managed commissary kitchen. I actually operate a farmer's market. I have Sari Kimbell Coaching. I am a certified life coach. And then I founded Food Business Success. And I've been in business for a little over 6 years now. And maybe some of you guys can relate to this, that at about year 3, I was like, oh, this is a business. This is actually working. But I was so every day just seemed like a struggle, and there was so much drama, and it just felt really hard. And I was like, I want this to be easier. So I kind of went on a journey of how to make my entrepreneurship journey easier. And we always coach and teach on the things that we needed to solve ourselves. So as Jordan mentioned, I would love for an outcome of this. I don't want you just sitting here passively taking this in, but think about one decision you need to make in your business, that nagging thing that's been in the back of your brain that's ugh, I just need to make that decision, or I've been putting something off. So I would love for you at the end to make a powerful decision and take some action as soon as we end this call. And then another outcome is learning one way that you are limiting your success and the speed of your success, and commit to take an action to change it. So I'll have some ideas in here. So this is often how we think our business will be. We decide to start that packaged food business, and then we just think it's going to be a straight line all the way up, right? Just success, success, success. And then we're just a successful business founder. And we're like, yes, we did it. So you hit the gas, you go, you're like, I'm on my way, let's go. But here's what actually happens. Does this look familiar? There's the burst of excitement, and you're on the roller coaster, and then you actually feel like you're going backwards sometimes, and you dip and you go up and you go down, and it's never a straight line, right? That's not how entrepreneurship works. So here's the truth. None of that is a problem. The roller coaster of entrepreneurship is not a problem. And we're going to talk more about circumstances, but those are just all the things that happen along the way. Here's the real problem, right? It's you. At the heart of every business, it's you. Like, you are the one making the decisions. You're the one engaging in drama. You're the one engaging in all of your stuff. It's like you've decided to go, you're hitting the gas. But really, what you're doing is, if the car is entrepreneurship, if this is your business, you are bringing all your stuff with it, right? You've overloaded the car and now you're trying to go. You have self-doubt, worry, being seen. I just coached a client on just how scared she was to be seen. Indecision, perfectionism. Anybody? Me. Fear of failure, procrastination, imposter syndrome, and just feelings of like, I'm not enough. Am I ever enough? So I bet you can relate to at least one of these, if not all of them. So these are the drag on your business. This is why I say it's about accelerating your success. So why is being an entrepreneur so freaking hard? It's because you have never done this before. This is brand new. If any of you guys have kids, you know what a kid is like when they're learning to walk. It's a hot mess, right? There's no like straight line. It's like they fall and they fall and they fall until they actually are walking, right? So you've never done this before. We need to give ourselves a little bit of compassion that it doesn't just magically happen. And our brain is going to fight us all along the way, because really you actually have two brains. You have one that's literally called the primal brain or the reptilian brain. And this is the one that is being motivated by what's called the motivational triad. This is your brain. If it's left unmanaged, it wants to seek pleasure. So that instant gratification, right? Let me just get on social media and get that quick hit of dopamine, right? We want to avoid pain. So we want to stay safe in our cave. We don't want to put ourselves out there, risk rejection, all of that kind of thing. And then our brain wants to conserve energy, so minimize effort. So we can see how, of course, instead of doing that hard thing that we need to do in our business, let me get on social media and scroll through, right? We get that instant gratification. We're avoiding doing anything that might be painful, and we're conserving energy. So our brain thinks that we are winning, but we're not actually getting done what we need to do in our business. That's not how we move our business forward. Your brain needs to be managed. It is like a toddler running around with a knife. So you, as the business owner, have the obligation, if we really want to do the thing that, 95% of people are unwilling to do, we have to be willing to do the thing that 5% do if we want to be in the top 5%. We need to make a plan, and we need to use what's called our prefrontal cortex. It's the thinking part of our brain. It's the part that's able to plan and make decisions. And then here's the key, because I'm sure all of us have made plans, but we actually need to follow through. So we make a plan, and then we manage the part of our brain that just wants to stay safe, right? That just wants to get that instant gratification. And we learn how to actually follow through. And we're going to talk about ways to do that on this call. So I love this concept. I heard this on a podcast recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, the speed of your success is in direct proportion to your ability to obey yourself. So we make a plan and we say, I'm going to call those 5 buyers tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and we are not going to want to do it. I promise you 100%, you are not going to want to actually make those phone calls. But are you willing to obey what you said you would do? That is how we speed up our success. So I'm going to kind of jump in now to the principles I want to talk about today. So the first one is really about managing our emotions. And this quote by Tony Robbins, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your emotions. And really, like, we want to have a high quality life. So, how do we manage our brains and not fight that motivational triad? This is a tool that I use with my clients in coaching, and it's called the Think, Feel, Act cycle. And this, to me, this changed everything. I had never heard of this. I never thought about it this way. And when I was introduced to this, everything changed in my business because I realized it wasn't about the problems out there. It was about me inside and what I was doing, what I was thinking, first of all, and then what I was feeling, and then the way I was acting. So think about it just for a second, step back and be like, is she right? Like, the way you think about something determines how you feel about it, and then determines what your actions are. And I'm going to give you some examples. But for some of you, this might be a really brand new concept, as it was for me. And so just kind of sit with that for a minute, because people are like, what? Wait, what's she talking
I just
about?
learned about this like last week, and it's so true. And
It's
it's one of
mind
those things that like you
blowing.
live through, but you don't ever conceptualize or bring to the front of
Yeah.
your brain to control. But I love this. It's so powerful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. And it helps you take your power back. So that's really what is so profound about the cycle, the think, feel, act cycle. So I'm going to give you some examples so you can see what I mean. But you are not your thoughts. We can actually like step back, and as the observer, as a witness, we can actually observe our own thoughts and be like, huh, that's interesting. That just happened. I wonder why I'm thinking that. Right. So just see if you can kind of watch it. It's like you're a therapist and you're just neutrally observing, like, oh, there's a thought. Oh, there's a thought. So let's do an example. So this could be, so a circumstance happens. I literally actually 15 minutes before this call, a client of mine said, do you have a minute? I really need to talk to you. And she literally was like, this just happened. The graphic designer changed the colors in our branding that we had done. You know, we had our original brand and our original packaging, and then he redid it, and the colors have all changed, and we just realized it. Right. We already got the packaging printed and everything. So that is a circumstance. So she's having lots and lots of thoughts about it. Right. So now some people, that could happen to some people, and you might say, okay, whatever, not a big deal. Like, just change it. It's fine. And then some people are going to make it mean all these things about them. Oh, well, this is never going to work. I might as well shut the whole business down. Right. Or, oh, there it is. I totally messed up. I'm an imposter. Right. I'm never going to figure this out. So that was actually just like literally just happened 20 minutes ago. But here's an example that's probably very common. You need to post on social media. That's something you need to do as a business. And then you have a thought about social media. So social media is neutral. It's just a circumstance. I'm not inspired. I hear this a lot from my clients. So I bet you have that same thought sometimes. I'm just not inspired. So here's the feeling. Think about, like, if you think that thought, you're going to feel apathetic. You're not going to feel motivated, right? The feeling in your body is just like, I don't feel like doing this. And so your actions are, you procrastinate, you compare and despair. You look at what everybody's doing. You say, I can't do it that way. You don't create anything. And then you beat yourself up about not doing it at all. Or you post something and it's just not, you're not happy with it at all. It's just like, ugh, right? So that all came from a thought. Social media is just neutral. It's just a thing in the world. Instagram exists. You could have a very different thought about it. I can figure this out, which creates a feeling of curiosity. I wonder what I'm going to post today. I'm so curious. And then you create some content using the 80% rule that I'll talk about here in a minute. You look to others as inspiration rather than comparison. You ask yourself good questions. You set a time limit. So you don't say, like, I'm going to give myself 3 hours to make this post. No, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to create a reel. I'm so curious what I'm going to create in 20 minutes. And then we post something, right? And so we get a result that there is a post on social media. It's all neutral. We just have different thoughts about it. So I would love to, we can definitely coach at the end if any of you guys are brave enough, but this is a really powerful model that just sit with it for a little bit and just, kind of after this, just be like, maybe she's right. Let me observe my thoughts. But here's why this model is so huge. This is the key to success, because all these dips and ups and downs and, all the things that happen, these are just circumstances, packaging errors, social media likes or no likes. Your co-packer reschedules your date, right? We're having supply chain issues. The buyer isn't responding. All of these are just neutral. They are just circumstances. And then it all comes down to our thoughts about it and what we make it mean about us. Because the reality is, your biggest problem is that you think you should not have any problems. That's the number one problem. You think, I've started this should just be easy. There should be no problems. And we're fight with reality. The biggest problem is that you think you shouldn't have any problems. But here's the thing. If you're alive, problems are forever. They just are. And so I always like to tell my clients, you always have 10 problems in your business that you're trying to solve. And the bigger you get, the bigger the problems become, the bigger in like taking more brain power and more money and more creativity to solve. I bet you can look back at your baby business when you just started it and you were like, oh my gosh, that was such a huge problem for me at that time. And I would kill to have that problem now, right? But you're dealing with much bigger problems as you grow. So resisting and reacting those 10 problems that are always happening in your business slows us down. I mean, we're literally pushing against the problem and saying, you shouldn't be here. We're resisting reality. Or we're like getting really overreactive, right? We're spending way too much time in the drama. We need to get better at becoming better problem solvers. Just accept that problems are a part of this business. That's why we're on a roller coaster. We're going to go backwards. We're going to dip. It's going to feel like we're not getting anywhere. So I love the idea of reframing, releasing, and responding. One of my clients told somebody else, another of my clients said, how is this happening for you? And she was actually the client I was just talking to. And so I said, I'm going to ask you that same question. How is this for you? And so reframing it, and then we can kind of release it as this huge drama and respond, right? And just get to work solving problems. And if you want to schedule time to be pissed about it, then do that later. But first we got to solve the problem. Then you can be, you can have a moment, you can complain, have a venting moment with your spouse or friends or whoever. But first we got to just solve the problem. It's nothing personal. And then I love this concept of solving any problem. We can solve a problem with money. We can solve a problem with time, or we can solve a problem by just deciding it's not a problem. That's it. Like, every problem can be solved this way. I promise. I have taken just every example that we can solve with those 3 things. And sometimes we just have to decide it's not a problem. My office is not very clean. You guys see like a very nice curated thing, but like over here, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a wreck. I have like samples and boxes and I just decided it's not a problem. But a lot of my clients are like, no, the whole office has to be perfectly organized before I can get anything done. Right. So I just decide that's not a problem. All right. So moving on, we're actually on number 4. How many of you would agree with this equation? Success, in my book, success means that I am getting results. That this, until I get that 100K business or 500K business or a million business, that I am not successful. I'm going to disagree with that. It does not serve you in any way to attach the end result and say that that is what success is. I am only successful when I get that result. And I think so many of us, we attach our self-esteem and our worth and our value to our business. And I know this was my problem 3 years into my business, right? Because every high was like, yes, look at me, pat on the back, I'm amazing. And then every low meant something about me personally, that I was a failure and a fraud, and I'm never going to live up to it. I'm not enough, and I'm not successful. So we're on a mental roller coaster as well as just things happening out in the world. So let's not use our business to prove that we are good enough. What if we just enjoy the business for the entertainment value that it does give us? You can go decide to work at a real job if you want and get a steady paycheck. You've decided to be an entrepreneur. So let's decouple success from results. Here's what I mean by that. Here's some practical ways you can do that. Success equals winning every day. There is a great practice that I have done. I did one for 30 days in a row, and it was transformative. Write down 3 gains that you made in your day, today, at the end of, before you go to bed. And just notice, like, your brain's going to want to come up with like really big things, but sometimes it's just, I did that post on social media. I reached out to that buyer. That you made some progress in your day. You had a hard conversation with an employee, whatever it is, that there's a small win. You can find a win in every day, I promise you. But the thing is, when we attach this long end goal to our success, our brains give up, right? We want to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. And so if we don't get a little win, right, every day, we are like, why would you want to do this? That's terrible. You're not going to have any fun in your business if you're not going to celebrate for another 2 years. So I love to, on the highs and the lows, right? We got to celebrate. We got to give ourselves the high five. Even when the crappiest thing happened, the logos are the wrong color, I can celebrate the win that I handled it well. I didn't lose my shit on my graphic designer, right? That we made improvements. So sometimes we're going to have some tears, and sometimes it's going to be tough, but we're still going to celebrate ourselves every day. You're just going to show up. So I want to encourage you, if you take nothing away from this, like besides this, give yourself wins every day. It will help you be more motivated to keep going. So if you're not getting the results that you want in your business or your life in general, I want you to look at your wins and losses. Don't look at the end result. Look at, did I get a W? Did I get an L? I reached out to the buyer. They told me no. That's an L. Right? I reached out to the buyer. They told me yes. That's a W. All that we're doing to achieve results, this is the formula, is we take action, we fail, we learn. We're going to take more action, we fail, we learn. We're going to take more action, and then sometimes we win. But there's going to be a lot more failures than there are wins, a lot more losses than wins. So it's about the learning. It's about the personal growth. This is part of the journey. So look at results that way, not on whether you achieve the big goal or not.
I love this, Sari, because I just remember when I first started my business thinking that, where everything was driving towards the end result of theoretically selling my company for millions of dollars and like trying to force a path to get there. And then realizing along the way that, if you don't enjoy the journey of getting there, then one, like you're wasting a bunch of time. And two, like the potential when, even if you do sell for that money, like few of the founders I've talked to that sold their business say that like that was the most important part that they enjoyed. It was the journey along the way. And so I love this whole reframing to like really enjoy that journey.
I mean, why else? If you're not enjoying it and you can't figure out a way to love the process, it's just going to be torture. It's like, I'm going to go kill myself to lose 100 pounds and hate the journey, but I'll celebrate. I'll love myself when I finally lose that weight. It's the same concept, right? So we have to like love ourselves and celebrate ourselves all along the way. Cause that one moment when you sell your company for $1 million, you're going to, like life is 50-50. You're going to be like, woohoo, I did it. And then your dog will die and you'll be like, oh crap. Like my life didn't change. Right?
You realize like, what now?
And then you're
like the thing that consumed my life that I
you're
maybe
already
love
on to the
doing, like
next
isn't there
thing.
anymore.
Oh my gosh, so good. So what if I told you I could make you this guarantee that your success, if you got 25 yeses, the buyer said yes, whatever it is, you got 25. But here's the trick is that for every yes, you have to get 4 no's first. So this is a great reframing tool that I've used with a number of clients. So instead of making the yes the goal, and we are a success or failure if we get the yes, we're actually going to make no's the goal. So for our goal is 100 no's. That is the goal. And so every no we get, we're like, yes, I got another no, because that means I'm that much closer to my yeses. But we make the no's the goal because it's about taking action, learning, right? There's going to be some failures. There's going to be no's. And then sometimes we get the yes. Success is built on a pile of failures. No one likes to fail, but this is what is required of entrepreneurship. There is no successful entrepreneur without a stack of failures, more failures than wins, 100%. So we know this, but what stops us from taking action? We protect ourselves with procrastination, buffering, and a perfectionist fantasy, right? That my life will be amazing once I reach that goal, or I just have to put out that perfect social media post. And so we hide behind perfectionism, right? I am a recovering perfectionist. I still catch myself, but it was not until I started following this 80% rule that my business really gained momentum. And so I call this the 80% rule, or doing B- work. And if you were a high achiever, which I'm guessing many of you were, that red B- just made your stomach turn, right? Like, no, it has to be A work, A+. Listen, 80% B- is good enough. Get it out there, right? Done is better than perfect. So you have to start somewhere, and then you can always improve. You can make it better. You can learn, you can grow. I love looking at people's social media from when they started. And, there's this concept. It's like at the time, maybe they agonized over that post and they're like, it's got to be perfect. And they spent so much time agonizing over it. And now you look back and you're like 6 months down the road and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I put that up. It's so amateur. But what is perfect anyways? Who says? Who is the arbitrator of perfection? Have you ever looked back, just like the social media post, and you look at something you did years ago and you're like, I thought that was so good. It's like, it's evolved. You've just grown. And so we got to get the work out into the world, right? So perfectionism is a big one. 80% rule. I have a whole podcast on it. It's really good. It's one of the ones that terrifies people the most. But what else stops us? Indecision, right? The lack of making powerful decisions that help you move forward in your business quickly. And indecision happens because we are going to do this to ourselves. We are going to beat ourselves up and we're not going to have our own back. And so what ends up happening is we use things like deadlines, a deadline that somebody else gives us to force us into making a decision and not owning it powerfully. And then we can blame somebody else, right? Instead of ourselves. So what if instead we had our own back no matter what, and you make more decisions powerfully? So how do you become more decisive? This is so huge, you guys. If you just think about if your business was about making the success, the end result of your business that you're trying to achieve this year, let's just say you had to make 5,000 decisions. That's what it requires. Wouldn't you want to make those decisions a lot faster? Right? Instead, we get so hung up on the right decision. So what if there are no wrong decisions? Probably freaking out. Your brain's like, no, that's not true. There are wrong decisions. What if there aren't? Who says? Most decisions are not forever, but we act like they are. Do I go with the fuchsia colored logo or the cranberry logo? Right? And like we agonize over this and we act like it's going to be forever. What if you just picked one? You said there's no wrong decisions. You just decide. And then there's new information that comes out and you're like, well, actually, I think the cranberry logo is better. I've gotten feedback, right? There's some data and you're like, I'm going to change. It's possible. Like most decisions are not forever, but our brain likes to tell us like, that's how it's going to be, right? I moved to San Francisco when I was 20 and it's like, I'm going to be there forever. And then I came back, right? We have so much evidence of when we re-choose, but I think that's where we get hung up in indecision. This is the question I like to ask my clients when they are trying to make a decision, small and big. What if both, or if there's multiple options, 3, 4, what if all the options work out amazing? Gotta have to, your brain will hurt a little bit. It's like, no, but just imagine that you keep that employee or you fire that employee and go find a new one. Imagine that both of them could work out amazing, that they both are amazing. Then which one would you choose? And it's usually something in your body. You're going to feel it in your body that's like, oh, this one feels lighter. This one feels easier. This one feels like the path I want to go down. And so that's a really powerful tool to help make decisions. If both worked out, awesome. I love both my options. Which one would I choose? And because there's no wrong decisions, it's not a problem. Identify your values first. This can also be a very powerful tool to make more decisions. What's the value of your business and your personal values? And then we can be rooted in that. And then we can say, oh, actually, that doesn't make sense for me to have 3 tiny accounts on the other side of the continent or the other side of the United States, right? Like, because now I'm not in about the hustle and getting the accounts. It's like, does that fit with the values of my business? So filtering through your values is a really important concept. I also like to use the 5-second rule with my clients. So when you have a decision to make, you're going to feel it in your gut. You're going to be like, ooh, I think I want to do that. What if we did that? And you're going to have like, ooh, that feels good in my gut, right? Like there's a good feeling there. Travels to your heart. And your heart's going to be like, so let's look at an example. I did this with hiring my business coach. $25,000 a year to hire my business coach. My gut said yes. My heart said yes. My head said, are you effing kidding me? Who spends that much money on a coach? But if we can notice what our gut and heart are saying, because it all happens really fast, like 5 seconds is all you get. And what I want you to do is notice when there is a decision to make, how does it feel in those 2 places first before your brain tries to tell you all the reasons why this is a terrible idea and we should just seek pleasure, avoid pain and conserve energy. What is one thing you can do to move that decision forward? So it doesn't mean you necessarily go hire the coach or hire the broker or whatever it is, but you take some action that moves you forward instead of just spinning around in your brain. You're like, okay, maybe I'm not ready to hire that broker yet, but let me go talk to 3 other people. Let me post in the Food Bevy Slack channel and ask other people what their experience with brokers have been and what are some things that I can avoid, or what do I need to ask them? That's taking action and moving you forward on a decision rather than just sitting around in your brain trying to spin out about it. So we have a little time for whoever is feeling a little brave to come on camera, and I would love to coach you on a decision, big or small, that you have been putting off. Who is feeling?
So I know we got a bunch of people who I know are dealing with decisions with their business. So if any of you want to come on up, I know we got Rachel in the audience, Greg, David, Brian, and ask or share any problems that you're experiencing or decision. And
I just need one problem, and we were gonna like solve your problem. What if you got off this call and you're like, oh my gosh, I made that decision, problem solved.
All right, Rachel.
I love it.
Hello.
All right, Rachel.
Hi.
Yes,
okay,
Tell
I
me.
can't see me, so I don't know. Hi.
Okay.
This has been so fun. I just posted a video on my stories because I'm in the Costco parking lot and all the kids fell asleep. So
Oh,
I was like,
hilarious.
oh my gosh, I get to listen to this webinar. This is great. And now I get coached. Well, like you said, there's always 10 problems at a time. Like there are literally so many decisions that are happening. One of the ones I was wrestling with and solved was good, to hire somebody to help me with our Walmart optimization. And I think that now I'm at this place where, just had a call with Kroger today and thinking more about like expansion. It's not a line review with Kroger right now anyways, but it was just like thinking more about what does it look like, I guess, for Revival to continue to scale. It's an almond butter company, by the way. It's called Revival Food Co. Trying to think of like, what is that next step for, like, I've done it all self-funded. And I know that that's not something I can keep up as we grow. And so I think that I get this feeling, like that tightness in my chest of just like, I can't keep this up. And I don't really know what the best next step is because there's so many options. When it comes to like, is it funding? Is it partners? Is it VC? Is it family, friends? Is it like, what does that even look like for me? So I think that that's a big, like this like looming big problem that I feel myself wrestling with. It doesn't hit me daily, but it's always there.
Yeah, it's occupying a lot of headspace and mental energy.
Yeah.
So I want to just point out first your thought about it. So when you think about scaling, when you think about growth, your thought was, I think it was, I just can't handle this.
Yeah.
So what's your feeling when you think I just can't handle this? What's your feeling?
It's the feeling of being on an island, like the overwhelm of like, it's the overwhelm of just, there's so much that I can't do all the things myself. Yeah.
Which leads, so overwhelmed, very common feeling in entrepreneurship. So that leads you to actions. What are some of the actions? And you mentioned already, you consider all these options. You're like, what about this? What about that? What about this? Right? You kind of spin out.
Yeah. I mean, even just this week, I interviewed a few VAs so I could hire like 2 VAs to help me with like some admin pieces. And I do have an operations and kind of like marketing person that helps me. But then for everything else, I just feel like I need more hands, I need more minds. So that was one action was like, the hiring of VAs. Yeah.
Which probably did not come from a feeling of overwhelm, because overwhelm typically leads to inaction. So we have different models happening all the time. So one, you think I got to scale. And so one thought is, I just can't handle this, which leads
Mhm.
you to overwhelm and probably inaction,
Yeah.
spinning around, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes you're going to have another model that says, oh, wait, I can get help. And then you feel a little bit more empowered, and then you take action to hire a VA.
Mhm.
So I just want to ask you, when you think about generally scaling, what thought do you think would serve you better than I just can't handle this?
I think maybe something more around like, I am here for a reason. Like, I've made it this far.
Yeah. I've made it this far. I'm
Yeah.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
I always figure it out. You've gotten this
Yeah,
far.
somehow. Yep. It's that, I forget who wrote that book. Everything is figure outable. It's one I always
Yeah,
tell
Marie,
myself.
that's one of my faves. Marie Forleo.
Yeah.
Everything is figure outable. Like, I always figure it out. I always land
Yeah.
on my feet. It's going to come. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need to rush it. So I just want to, offer you some other thoughts that might be more
Yeah.
helpful, because those thoughts, when you think I can always figure it out, how do you feel in your body when you think that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when I say that, when I feel like, if I say those words, it does make me feel like, okay, bite-sized pieces,
Calms you
like maybe it's
down.
not a mountain. Maybe it's not like a rushing river coming at me right now.
Yeah.
Definitely feels like that sometimes, but that kind of phrase helps shift that
It does. And
mindset.
again, this is managing. You have toddlers in the car. What if you gave your toddler a knife and you're just like, hey, have fun, right? That
Yeah,
would be
best of luck.
very dangerous. That is what we have
Yeah.
to do with our brain, because your brain's saying, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
And then you get spun out, right? And so
Right.
noticing, we have to become the watcher of our thoughts and notice when that thought comes up and say, I hear you. I know this is scary, and we're doing okay.
Yeah.
We've gotten to this point. I figured it out.
Yeah.
That is taking the knife away from the toddler.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. No, that's
Toddler's
true.
still going to run around and try to tell you that it's too much. You can't handle it. But when you think a thought like, I can figure this out, your feeling might be more confident, determined, committed. And even like the feeling of determined, it's not like a super happy emotion. It's not like, I'm just so excited, it's going to be awesome. It's like, it's like gritty, it's like, okay, I'm determined. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And then the action that you take from that is, you're like, what's one thing I can eliminate as a next step? Or what information do I need to make, just like, what's that, like you said, a bite size, like what's that next thing?
Yeah.
Because you've started your business. Did you solve all your problems that you have now way back then? You just took the next step. That's all we need to do, is take the next.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. It doesn't have to be, it's not the full decision.
It's
right.
Not the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just giving yourself an idea of like, let me just ask myself good questions about what information do I need to know about VCs or working with friends and family? How much money do I even need? That might be the first thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. I know. Because I think that it's all of that, because that overwhelm starts to feel like, I start to feel that because I'm just like, I know nothing about all of that, I know more than I think I know, but it's because I'm not pressing in to get that, like the little pieces. So yeah, you're right. Right.
It's always, usually we just need again, that like, okay, my heart and my gut tell me I need to grow. I need to scale. I need money. Okay. We don't need to make the decision about it quite yet, but we can get one more piece of information. We can make a decision to do a pro forma with somebody, or look at that, like talk with one person who's raised money, or, find a webinar, or like there's lots of ways we can keep making progress.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Is that helpful?
That's good. So helpful. So great.
Good.
I'm glad I popped
So
on.
good.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah,
It's weird.
absolutely.
I love it. Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I know sometimes just like saying it and getting out of your head as well just helps also in talking
It
it through with
does.
someone,
No, you're
because
so
just
right.
cycles, right?
Just, I mean, pen and paper is so huge. Just writing it down, like, oh, like sometimes I'll just do, remember those old school brainstorms, like circle in the middle, and then you're just writing all the branches and all the things. What else do I not know? What else do I need to know? And then you get your next steps, because you're not going to like leap over the chasm. You're going to take one step at a time. So good. We have a few more minutes if anybody else is feeling brave. I'd love to
See in
coach
the
on a
chat that
decision.
Tanya said that you're going through the same thing. Did you have any things, Tanya, that you wanted to talk about or bring up, or like that overwhelm of what you're dealing with?
And I know it can be a little scary coming on these calls. Jordan, what's a decision you need to make?
Yeah, so I'll talk about our other like online marketplace, Good Food Brands. One decision I was thinking about was like, we're looking at ways of growing the business, and I was looking into advertising, and if I should, we've done some advertising on Facebook to get customers, and if I should continue that, invest a lot more money, or kind of stop spending money on advertising completely.
Okay. So advertise or not at all?
Yes.
Okay. What if both of those work out amazing? What's that you want? What do you want to grow the business? Like, is it number of customers or clients?
Yeah, it's ultimately to get to a certain revenue per month.
Okay. So both of those work out amazing. We can either get that revenue from investing in ads, or we can stop advertising altogether and pursue some other forms of outreach. So just like try to wrap your mind around it, because I promise you both could work. So they both work out amazing. Which one feels better in your body? Just take like a breath.
So I think in talking about like my gut, it's telling me like not to pay for advertising, at least right now.
Yeah.
And I think because there's other things that are probably I'm able to control or have that work better, I think, at this point. And when we've done our pay advertising before, it always leads to more questions and uncertainty and feeling of, is this even working or helpful?
Right. So what if you committed right here, right now to like decision made, I'm going to have my own back. We're not going to spend any money on advertising for the next 3 months, and then I'll reevaluate the decision.
Yeah, I think that would feel great and save some cash on that side as well.
And now you can move forward, right? You're not spending all your thought energy, all that brain energy on trying to figure it out. You're like, okay, we've made a decision. We're going to move forward. Now the real work begins, right? Now we have to go figure out, well, how am I going to create more revenue without advertising? But that's where we get creative. And that's what we do as entrepreneurs. Like, now we get to take action, but the decision's made. So
yeah, I like that. I mean, it's easy to just kind of sit with that a lot. But yeah, I think if you just kind of pick one and go with it and test and learn from it, as you mentioned, like that whole act, take an action and test it and then learn from it. Then you can make another decision from there.
Because we all have a finite amount of energy and resources, time and money, time being the most valuable one. And so it can be challenging to try to do it all, right? And that's where we get overwhelmed and paralyzed. We're like, I got to do ads and I'm going to do all this other grassroots thing because I'm going to make them both happen. And then we spin out, and then we want to just go eat ice cream and watch Netflix because it's like, this is way too hard of a problem to solve. But making a decision, a powerful decision, and saying, because there may be a time where you're going to just be like, no, ads, I want to do ads, right? I've learned, I've grown, no, ads are the right thing. And again, there's no wrong decision. Like, your business life cycle is long for all of you guys. It's a long, like, we always underestimate what we can do in a year, and we overestimate what we can do in a week or 2 months, right? So it's
And
really
I love what
powerful
Greg
to
mentioned
remind.
as well. He just said in the chat, it may feel like not spending these, like you're not doing everything you could, even though it's probably the right call, especially in this business environment. And I think that's so true. I know I definitely feel that way of, like all of us come across so many opportunities every single day, and you end up having to say no to a lot. But then there's a lot of things like, oh, well, what if that would work? And it feels like you want to do everything all at once to find all the things that stick.
Yeah. I recommend having a parking lot. I have like a sheet of paper where you just are like, oh, noted, that's going on the parking lot. Like, I'm not going to lose it. It's been written down. Have a big sticky or something, or a note in your phone. There's the parking lot. But constraint is one of the ways that we really master that, like, that we obey ourselves. Because when we have too many masters, it's like the analogy of kicking. You have 10 soccer balls you can kick every day down the field, right? Towards your goal that you want. So are you going to tackle 10 different things that day and make one kick progress? Or are you going to kick one ball 10 times and get so much closer to your goal?
So Sari, here's one question I have for you is, a lot of founders, and I've gone through this a lot myself, feel that when they're running their business, like they're running out of time. Running out of time to be successful, running out of time to start being profitable, running out of time to get investors, like they're robust customers, like they're always running out of time. How do you kind of coach founders through that?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question. And actually, I'm doing a whole productivity boot camp in my program, but maybe I could come back on and we could actually do a whole time, because that is a big elephant to bite out of. But so first of all, I'll just say it's our thought about it, right? I used to walk around saying, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't handle this, right? When I just think about time. And now I do way more, and I never have thoughts of I'm so busy. People ask me how, like, are you so busy? You do so much. I'm like, no, it's full. I have all the time for the things that need to get done. So that's where I would start, is just, what is my thought about time? Because we've all experienced what's called Einstein time, right? Where like time just lasts forever, and you're doing something, that like you hate, and you're like, oh, this is never going to end. And then you do something really fun with friends and family or whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, that day just flew by. And so time is not fixed. I mean, we all have 24 hours in a day, but how we think about our time is actually the quality of our emotions, which is the quality of our experience. So I'd love to come back if you'll have me, and we can talk more.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about that another time, because I think that's one of the driving forces I hear from so many founders. And I'll connect. I want to ask Rachel after this as well. I know she's busy in the car, but like, if she feels that way, because I feel like there's this pressure of like, I need to grow, I need to be a $1 million company, I need to be a $10 million company, and need to get there in 2 years. And there's this like time pressure that I think a lot of founders put on themselves. And both on like a, I see. Michael
the managing of your schedule, but I would just add, and maybe I have another quick slide I'm going to show you, but I would just maybe ask yourself, for anybody saying that to themselves, why am I in such a rush? Because if we're using our business as a way to prove that we are worthy and that we are enough, then you're going to be in a big rush. But when you are using your business as a vehicle for growth and experience and fun and creation, it slows you down, which calms you down, which helps you make better decisions and more creative decisions, and actually allows you to enjoy the process. So I would leave it as, what's the rush? why are you in such a rush? And
I
just
love
think about that.
that. Michael just wrote, when does it ever end?
It never. Did you not see the slide with the problems that are always chasing you? You always have some problems. So if you'll permit me, I know you need a minute to wrap up. I just really encourage you guys. Thank you for being here and investing in your brain and your mindset. This is such important work. Remember, we are releasing the drag, all that stuff piled on top of the car that's slowing down your business. And so that is why I became a coach. That is why I coach CPG founders to help them release all that crap that's holding you back. So I do have a podcast that talks a lot about mindset if you're interested. But I really truly believe coaching is not a luxury. That is the one thing that we have the most control over to how we experience our business and our life. So I'll just leave my information up there and I'll let you wrap up. But thanks for having me, Jordan. It was really fun.
Thank you so much. It was such a great conversation. And I know we don't really get a chance to take a moment to step back and reflect on ourselves and our relationships with ourselves and our business. And so thanks for everyone who took the time to join us today, and hope you continue this conversation with yourself and reflection along the way as well. And I think there's definitely some opportunities and ideas for future conversations around productivity, time management, but even that goal setting of knowing where you want to go with your business, so that or at least a direction of how you want to feel and the type of journey that you want to have in building your business around that versus some fictional end result that you want to try to get to, right? Enjoy those every day. So lots of fun ideas around some conversations we can have around that. So Sari, thanks so much for joining for this conversation, and thanks so much for everyone listening in.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. This was my favorite things to talk about. So thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend, everyone.